everyone, so in this video I'm going to be going over the Vandas. So this is my Aerides Latiana. I really like the flowers on it and it has bloomed consistently for me except for this year. As you can tell from the leaves, it's had kind of inconsistent growth and the newer leaves aren't as large as the bottom leaves, so that's not super great. I think I mentioned at one point that I was planning to move this to a vase, but I haven't actually done that yet, and I'm wondering if I move it to a vase if the leaves will be bigger. The roots do grow well even though the leaves aren't as large as I like them to be. This is Vanda cristata and it's in spike with 3 buds. The growth habit on this is a little bit wonky. As you can tell, the new leaves kind of go out and in, which is not good. This is the latest leaf and it's kind of growing in the wrong direction. It should be going this way, but it's starting to open up, so I'm hoping that it'll resolve itself. So in the past, I had pointed out that there was a spike here that was starting, but as you can tell, it just turned brown and aborted itself. Also, looks like this keiki is starting to fizzle out, so I'm not sure what the issue is, but if this can resolve itself, then I'm not too worried. This is Vanda tricolor. It's a seedling that was gifted to me by Orchidea. At one point I tried to grow it bare root, but I didn't do well with it, so I've put it back in moss and I think it's doing a lot better. The growth on this is not super great, but I think it'll improve now that I've left it in moss. This is Vanda Ceruleans, relatively new acquisition. I think I got it last spring. It spiked for me twice, but in both cases the spike shriveled up and dried up. So I've been trying to keep it more humid. It's currently trying to grow a new leaf and it's pushing out a lot of new root tips. So I think overall the plant seems happy. It's just I need to be able to get it to spike. So that's my next goal for this one. This is Ascocentrum piscillum and it had a pretty rough ride in my care. I initially wanted it to be mounted, but I wasn't able to keep up with watering it, so after moving it to lava rock, it's been doing a lot better, and you can see the leaf progressions. So this one's still a work in progress. From the photos I've seen, the flowers range from very pale purple to white and more purple. I'm hoping to get more paler flowers, so to get more variety in my collection. And this is Trichoglottis piscilla. This plant has done really well in my care. If you look at the leaves, they've been getting a lot bigger. I also really like the flowers on this one. It's very small and stripy, so it's very exotic looking. I don't see any signs of flower spikes, but I think it will spike again for me this year. This one is Vanda insignis, and this is Vanda foetida. Both are seedlings from clouds, and I have them now in, I call it vase culture, but it's a type of water culture. Previously I would soak them every day and then just put them in the cup. I thought to myself, well, they're already in the cup, so I might as well treat it how I treat my other Vandas and vases. So that's what I've been doing, and they seem to be pretty happy with that. This is Ascocentrum ampliceum crossed with Christiansonianum. This has been a source of frustration for me. It looks like there are a lot of flower spikes that are starting, but none of them have actually matured. So I've mentioned it before, but this is on my list of plants to give away. I'm not too upset about it because I do have Ascocentrum ampliceum, and that blooms pretty regularly for me, although I know the flowers look a bit different, but I think that's okay. This is Ascocentrum guga. I purchased this from Clouds at the same time I got that previous plant. It has never bloomed for me. I think perhaps the main plant is a bit damaged and it's currently throwing out a keiki on this side. You can see there. I got this early when I first started the hobby and it's been a bit abused, which is probably why it didn't bloom, but lessons learned. So I'm very eager to bloom this plant, and that's mainly because there are very few photos of it, and of the photos I've seen, they're pretty grainy and not very good quality, so I would like to be able to bloom it and show the flowers. This is Thrixpermum liquoracne, and it's super easy to grow in my climate. It's a more intermediate to cool growing, so it doesn't do super great in the summer, but it's pushing out a new leaf. I really like the flowers on this, and even though they only last a day, they do come one after another in succession, so it's good in that sense. So this is Papilio Nanthi Taiwaniana, and the reason I have it in water is because when it's really sunny outside, I like to put it out in full sun, and the water prevents ants from getting into the pot. Anyway, I haven't had this plant for very long, and I do like the flowers from photos I've seen, so I'm hoping I can get this to bloom. From other examples, it doesn't need to be super huge to start pushing out a flower spike, so hopefully I can get something this year, but who knows. This is Renanthera monachica, and it's one that hasn't really been doing that well in my collection, so I've been putting it out in the little greenhouse. I'm hoping that the hot summer temperatures in the greenhouse will help it bloom. I'm not sure if you can tell, but it's just starting to push out another new leaf, so hopefully this does better. This plant is not particularly rare to find, so if it doesn't improve, then I'm considering just chucking it, as I'm not really married to this plant either. I think if I do end up chucking it, I might try Renanthera citrina. It doesn't require as high temperatures, I believe, so I think it might be easier for me to bloom that one. This is Rhincorides Bangkok Sunset. I bought it in spike and I was able to see the blooms, but my goal now is to get this to bloom. So this one is also living out in the little greenhouse. I should also mention that when I say these are living in the greenhouse, they're only living in the greenhouse during the day, because it does get pretty cool at night. I think right now the lowest has been 12 degrees, so it's not really warm enough for them to stay out over. So this is Aerides flabellata, and I did take it off the mount, and I am doing vase culture with it now. It hasn't been growing super great for me, but I'm hoping this will improve things. This has grown very slow for me, and I haven't been able to bloom it. I remember Rez Quetzal said it's probably the plant, but I'm going to give it one more chance this year, and if it doesn't do well, I'm probably going to chuck it and try to find another one. I find it a bit strange that the growth isn't that great, because it does tend to push out a lot of root tips. This is Aerides Quinque vulnera, and it's actually a pretty large plant. It's done very well for me. I actually think I need to get a new vase for it. I bloomed it for the first time last year, but the issue with the flowers was they got stuck, so some of them didn't open. I'm hoping I can get another bloom this year. This is Vanda Pamila, and I have not been able to bloom it yet. The leaves have a similar problem as Vanda cristata. They're curving in, but it looks like it's managing to curve back in the correct direction. Just recently it's pushed out thicker roots, so that's good, and it's just starting to push out another new leaf. And this is Vanda roblegiana. I was able to bloom it this year, which is great. Overall, it grows well in my environment. Not too much to say about it. I like that it's relatively compact, and the flowers are really beautiful, so yeah, I really like this plant, and I hope I can get it to bloom again next year. This is labeled as Ascosynchum miniatum, but I believe it's actually Gary based on the flower shape. This has bloomed at least a couple times for me. Hasn't bloomed again yet for me this year. I think it's partially because the top part is a little bit broken. It was knocked off the shelf by my cat at one point, but it is pushing out a lot of keikis, so I think it's doing pretty well overall. This is Ascosynchum ampliceum, and it's my best Vanda. Blooms regularly for me, which is good, but it's starting to become a problem because, and I'll show you in a bit, but it blooms in the same spot, so it's affecting the leaves. You can see here that it's starting to go bald in that one spot, and it's on both growths, so you can see it here as well. Also, you can see the newest leaves are starting to grow in the wrong direction, which is kind of annoying, but hopefully they will sort themselves out. There is something growing down there, though. I'm not sure if that's a flower spike or a new growth, so we'll see. This is Ascosynchum curvifolium. I purchased this as a top cutting, actually, and I actually almost lost it because you see this part, that part actually rotted off, so I had to cut it off. But in my care, it threw out 2 keikis, so that's great. It's been slow to push out new roots, and I think it only has actually 2 living roots, or at least active roots, and the growth is slow, but the growth is also steady, so in my opinion, I think that's good. I don't know how long I have to wait until I get blooms, though. And this is Vanda lamellata, and it's done pretty okay for me. Still haven't been able to bloom it yet. I almost got a flower spike last year, but that aborted, so that is not good, but I'm hoping I can get another one this year. I don't know, I'm still trying to figure this one out. And this is the latest one in my collection. It's Vanda Cultana Fragrance crossed with Vanda Tessellata. I haven't had it for that long, so I can't say too much about it. But it is pushing out two very thick roots, so it seems pretty healthy. It also has a new leaf starting at the top there. This is Neophoenicia Hakucho, and it's not doing super good. It had a mealybug infestation, which I tried to fix with a bleach solution. That didn't work, so I'm trying to attack it with alcohol. You can tell from the leaves it's not too happy, but it is in spike. It actually has 2 spikes, but only one of them is in bud. I did cut off one of the buds because it had a mealybug, and I just would rather remove it than try to deal with it. And this is Neophoenicia Kutsuwamushi, and it's also in spike, and it also has a mealybug problem, so both of my neos are isolated from the other plants. I'm very excited to see the flowers on this one because I haven't seen it in bloom before. So yeah, that's what I'm looking forward to. Alrighty, and that's my video for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!